And welcome to the Biz Buzz segment here on YouTube. The Biz Buzz segment is from our Blank Page to Bestseller podcast, but we bring it here to you on YouTube as well to share some of the most important and timely tips for writers, authors, publishers, and anyone looking to share their story. On this week's Biz Buzz segment, I talk with KZ and Colleen, my co-hosts, about our favorite tips from the recently released book, The Right Way: Conversations with Publishing Pros. We begin by talking with KZ and where she shares her favorite tip, which is the ethics behind AI. Then we talk with Colleen, who shares her favorite tip, which is about cover design and how authors need to be aware of what goes into a great book cover. Then I share my favorite tip, which is all focused around the different types of publishing, because there's no right or wrong way to publish your book, but there are many options for authors to be aware of. If you enjoy the Biz Buzz segment here on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you can get notified of all of our new Biz Buzz segments. If you want to hear more great information from me, Colleen, and KZ, you can subscribe to the Blank Page to Bestseller podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. The podcasts come out every Tuesday morning, so please be sure to subscribe and have the show up in your feed wherever you listen to your shows. And now I'm going to send it over to myself to start the Biz Buzz segment. And we are very excited to talk on this week's Biz Buzz, because on this week's Biz Buzz, we're talking about our favorite tips that we learned or favorite tips that we found in The Right Way: Conversations with Publishing Pros. That is our first book, which is going to be coming live for you to purchase actually tomorrow when this goes live. So today, Tuesday, the book goes live on Wednesday, June 12th. So we wanted to share some of our favorite tips so that you are excited and ready to go and hop right on into the book tomorrow morning. If you haven't already, you can pre-order the book on Amazon. Link will be in the bio, and that is also where you can go and you can purchase the copy when it comes live on Wednesday. That would be tomorrow. So let's kind of just start with what our favorite tips are. So I know we've talked a lot about what we've learned about our process on writing, but today we're going to focus solely on the book. So let me first start off with KZ, if you don't mind. KZ, what was your number one tip or number one piece of advice that you learned or you found in The Right Way?
Okay, so y'all know that I don't like doing number ones and number twos and number threes. I have many, and I consider them all to be equal weight. But I'm going to start out with one that might surprise you guys. But I really found it not just informative but useful to read what Ruth Lee had to say about her journey from as a writer to use AI, and how she has incorporated it in a very ethical and effective way in her writing. I'll make a comment on this as someone who knows Ruth and has edited her work many times. She has a truly unique voice. I love her reading. I love reading her writing. She really does have a way of turning a phrase and I know she works hard for those. I know she does. And the way she has has described her journey and shown how she uses AI as a tool, not to replace her voice, but to enhance and help
Mhm,
her to focus
mhm.
her writing and her message. I found that really, really heartwarming.
Yeah,
I will
I'll
say, oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead,
Okay.
Colleen. No,
I
go
was just
ahead.
going to say, I will say that it did change my mind a little bit about AI because I was so kind of against it. But I can see when her explanation of the ethical use of it and how it can help. I really found that very interesting. And she does have a great way of writing.
She does.
Mhm. But let me ask you, Colleen, then. So you and KZ both mentioned the ethical side of AI. For our listeners, what would you say is the ethical way that Ruth is trying to portray in her writing?
Well, I think they need to read it themselves, but why don't you say something, Colleen?
Well, yeah, of course, obviously they want to read, but what are they going to find out when they, maybe the high level stuff?
Oh, high level, low level, that always confuses me. But anyway, um, I think that, oh gosh, just how she would, the way she gave the prompts and
Mhm,
what she exactly wanted it to do, she was so specific and
mhm,
not just so general where it could float out anything, and how getting it used to her voice.
mhm.
So I probably think that's my thing.
Yeah, I think we've talked in the past on a few episodes about how AI will give you anything and everything, even if it's not correct. And I think that, if you do have a specific prompt or a specific way to ask your, whatever AI app you're using, if you're specific and clear with it, it will give you back better advice than just a random question that you ask it.
And I think the bottom line in all of this is that AI is a tool. It offers
Hmm.
advice, um,
Hmm.
and the ethics are really revolve around using it as a tool and not pretending that it's more than a tool, and
Hmm.
um, letting it lead the way, because AI can't lead the way. It has to be you that leads the way as the writer.
I really like the way you put that. That's great. I love how you said it's a tool and that you have to lead the way. Yeah. So I think that's a really great tip, KZ. And I'm going to move over to Colleen real quick and see what do you think your number one tip or number one piece of advice in the right way is?
Well, I have to say, Candy, that I loved. I really enjoyed what you talked about in the books, cover design, the stunning designs that you can make, and how you explained doing it yourself versus going to a professional. And what I liked about that was, I love to be a creative person, and I love the artistic side. I was steered away from it, I guess you will say, when I was younger, by not getting positive advice about what you did if you drew something or whatever. And so I'm really looking forward, and you both know this, to put something else on my plate, if you will. I'd love to do the graphic design work, but I know it takes a lot of work. And how specific, I really liked when you talked about when you do your cover, making sure it fits the genre of the story, and
Mhm.
what that it portrays that. It's not
Mhm.
just thrown out there as something. But that chapter really intrigued me.
No, yeah, I think that was a great chapter too. I will just double on that and say I think a lot of writers, especially self-published writers, fall into the trap of not necessarily doing the genre research like you've mentioned and end up, hurting their book sales in the end because I think readers expect a certain thing out of a certain genre. And if you don't go along with the trends, or if you don't at least make it obvious to the reader or who is eventually going to purchase the book. If you don't make that clear and obvious, they're going to be confused and maybe not necessarily as apt to dive into your stories.
And the other piece of this, and thank you, Colleen, for those words. The other piece of this is, and you said it, Colleen, the differences between going in and getting a professional to help you with it. You as the writer still have a responsibility to do that initial research, not to give it all away to the creative designer, because that person needs your guidance too. You're the one who wrote the book. You're the one with the story. It has to fit the message. Your cover does have to fit the message, and there are so many ways that you as an author can be involved in that without actually having to be the designer.
Mhm.
And that's, I hope that's the message that I conveyed in that chapter, because that's obviously what I hope to do.
Yes, definitely you did. Yes, it was great.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I will say that I think Casey, your design chapters in general are very well done, and they should shed a light on a lot of great topics that a lot of writers don't necessarily think about when they're writing, and they don't necessarily think about until they get too far into the process to realize, oh, I may need some help with this.
Thank you, Peter. And you're right. That happens all the time.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we always talk about is um, as a writer, your job is to write, and that's really where your expertise lies, is a writer is writing. And a lot of times you don't realize the number of specialties that are involved in publishing a book. And not to say that you can't be an expert in interior design and a writer. I know, Casey, you're one of those people, but a lot of writers aren't necessarily a expert in interior design or cover design or whatever, marketing, whatever that may be. So I think the whole point of this book was to shed that light so that writers, before they get too in the weeds and too bogged down in the specifics of publishing, can understand that there's a lot of specialties in the publishing world.
Yes. Good point. Good way to say that. What about you, Peter? What was your favorite tip?
I think I've been going back and forth on this because I've read it. I think we've all read this, I don't know, probably 5, 10, 20, 45 times. And
Once or twice at least.
exactly. But I think there's a lot of great advice, and it was hard to find one thing that really, really stood out as being better than everything else. But one thing that I really did enjoy was, I know, Colleen, you talked a lot on like the different types of publishing, and I think that that is really a point of emphasis that writers should kind of understand before they get into the process too much, because there's a lot of variety, there's a lot of differences between whether that be traditional publishing or self-publishing or hybrid publishing. And until you kind of understand what those are, if you get too far in the process, you could really hurt your chances of success if you go down the wrong pathway without the right information.
I agree. It's really important. And there's so much difference in them. And it's about the education and learning what is needed so they can follow their best path that's good for them.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And I think that ties right along with another tip that I really liked, Peter, and that's in one of your chapters, where you point out the fact that there's no right or wrong way to write a book. There's also
Hmm.
no right or wrong way to publish it, except to not publish it and not get it out there where someone can read it.
Right, right. And I think that is really what's stands out above in our book, is that we try to really shed light on all the different options there are. And it's a very personal and very personal journey that we go on when we publish a book. And so if you can maybe not necessarily pick and choose, because there are some things you have to do no matter what, but if you can kind of find the right pathway for you, hit the right guidepost along the journey, you're going to really find success.
Absolutely. I remember when we were discussing in the early days, we were discussing the subtitle for the book and the tags, and we went round and round through dozens and dozens of possibilities, and we kept coming back to the same one. The one we have, Conversations with Publishing Pros, is one of the very first ones we thought of, and that's
Hmm.
because it really does describe what this book is. It's conversations with us and with others in the business, and it's pulling in the experience of not just our experience, but experience with vendors and suppliers of different services. So it's a lot more than it looks like on the surface, and it's an easy read too, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah, and I think that one thing that I really am happy that we were able to do is bring in an author's perspective. I know Christine
Yes.
Beckwith starts off the book as a from the author's perspective, and I think that really highlights some of the possibilities that publishing can lead to if if you make your book your business, if you focus on doing things the right way. And I think that's a great way that I think that was a great choice to start off from the author's perspective and then go into the more specific, whether that be writing or editing or publishing or whatever that is. But I think that was a great Christine shared a great story to start off the book.
She did. Yep.
Yeah.
She had some nice things to say. I appreciate it too.
Yeah, that's really good. I think one thing before we wrap up for today is I do want to thank all of our other writers who contributed. First of all, thanks to Laura Brandeo for writing the foreword. I think we couldn't have really asked for a better foreword from her. She we've known her now for we were talking like 3 or 4 years now, 4 years now, and it's great that we've been able to have a good working relationship, and she's so much fun to talk with. If you haven't listened to her show yet, she's on one of the episodes. I interviewed her a few weeks ago, so I'll have a link to her episode. Same with Ruth Lee. She was on the show earlier too, so I'll link an episode. They were both great to hop on and talk with about writing and anything and everything in between.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to echo that as well, Peter. It's this is when we talk about conversations with writing prose, I want to say again that it's not just those whose names are on the copyright page who are the authors. It's all of our experience. It's all of the people who we have worked with over the years, because we are not new people in this business. We've been around for a very long time. I'm not admitting how long. Sorry. But we know so many people. We bring in so many different perspectives. So you're not getting just a little bit of a piece of one person's experience. You're getting a broad experience from many professionals in this industry.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to go and, do a kind of a shameless plug, but, I know all of us have eh, gone, we all met because we took the professional author assistant course at some
That's
point
right.
in our careers. And, we learned so much from, like you said, the people that came before us and the people that we've worked with. And, that's one thing that I think has really stood the test of time, because yes, things change, but the knowledge and the experience and the professionalism that you can find in that course is beyond measure, I think. And I think that's why speaking for all of us, I think that's why we decided to become the next torchbearers for the professional authors assistant training course.
I agree, Peter, and I know that for myself, I go back to to the original course materials when I have questions. So it's still there, it's still valid. It's Jan King did a great job when she put that together, and we've only continued to improve on it and make it even more valuable.
Yeah, and I will second that and say that I believe I went through 2 or 3 times in my chapters and you pulled things not necessarily directly from that, but reminded myself of a few things as I was going through writing my chapters.
Good source material.
Exactly. Yeah. And for if you are interested, if you are a writer or maybe a virtual assistant or someone looking to, start a new revenue stream, if you will, the courses are available, and I'll put a link down to where you can find those courses in the show notes as well. But that's just I think that's really the basis of where this book comes from, because of our experiences that we've had over the years working with different whether that be different authors or different publishing professionals, whatever that may be, that really we were able to draw on all of those experiences to make this book a reality. So, is there anything that we haven't covered about the book that you think one of our readers might be really interested in?
I
Think
think
we've
we're
covered
good.
it all?
Yeah, we're giving them a little sneak peek so they want to, go out there and get it.
That's the idea. Yeah. And I, and
Yeah.
I, and I, as I said, it's an easy read, and I mean that it really is. It's not short and it's not long. It's a good size, and yet it's an easy read, and it's a book that you can come back to and easily reference for future use when you're ready.
Yeah, and I'll echo that too. And I also want to say I think it's a great book that you can read in chunks, if you will. So if you're looking like, oh my goodness, I'm stuck in my brainstorming mode, you can go and find the brainstorming chapter and you can just reread that. You don't have to read the whole book at once to catch everything.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, I want to thank both of you for hopping on today and talking about your favorite tip in the book. And I think that we covered some really great things in the book, and I think our readers will be really happy with what they find about the book. So please, like I said, the book comes out tomorrow. That would be June 12th, live on Amazon. So please check the links in the show notes for where you can go and pre-order if you're listening on Tuesday, or purchase if you're listening on Wednesday or later. So thanks again, and we'll be back next week with another Biz Buzz segment.